Hi friends, thank you for joining Book a Day for Little Learners. Today we're going to read Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise Brown. This is a children's classic that I hope you'll enjoy, and most likely you're hearing right before bedtime. Let's read this story together and then we'll discuss it. Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise Brown and pictures by Clement Hurd. In the great green room, there was a telephone and a red balloon and a picture of the cow jumping over the moon. And there were 3 little bears sitting on chairs. And 2 little kittens and a pair of mittens, and a little toy house and a young mouse. And a comb and a brush and a bowl full of mush, and a quiet old lady who was whispering, "Hush." Good night, room. Good night, moon. Good night, cow jumping over the moon. Good night, light and the red balloon. Good night, bears. Good night, chairs. Good night, kittens, and good night, mittens. Good night, clocks, and good night, socks. Good night, little house, and good night, mouse. Good night, comb, and good night, brush. Good night, nobody. Good night, mush. And good night to the old lady whispering, "Hush." Good night, stars. Good night, air. Good night, noises everywhere. If you liked our first reading of Goodnight Moon, please hit the like button. Subscribe to our Book a Day for Little Learners channel. A new book is uploaded daily, and each video has a book reading and then usually a second reading that includes vocabulary building as well as comprehension questions. Let's read Goodnight Moon again by Margaret Wise Brown. You can see in the initial, on the cover of the book, the room that is used for the entire book, and you can see here's the cow jumping over the moon. That's a nursery rhyme. Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such fun, and the dish ran away with the spoon. You can see the moon outside with the stars. Let's read Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise Brown with the pictures or illustrations by Clement Hurd. In the great green room, you can see the paint on the room is green, there was a telephone and a red balloon. Can you find the red balloon? Yeah, right there, that's right. And a picture of the cow jumping over the moon, or the three little bears. The cow jumping over the moon. And there were three little bears sitting on chairs. 1, 2, 3. And 2 little kittens, and a pair of mittens, and a little toy house, and a young mouse. Also in the great green room, you have lots of books, a rocking chair with someone doing some crafting, some knitting needles, and these are socks and mittens that look like they're hanging up to dry near the fireplace. So maybe this friend got to go outside and play in the snow, and the gloves and the socks got wet, and they're hanging up to dry. And a comb and a brush. There's the comb and the brush. And a bowl full of mush. And the brush is engraved with the word bunny. And a quiet old lady who is whispering, hush. It's time to go to bed, so it's time to settle down. Good night, room. Margaret Wise Brown also wrote the book The Runaway Bunny, and that's another book you can look up on my channel. I have that one as well. Look at the kittens playing with the yarn. Good night, moon. Good night, cow jumping over the moon. Can you see the moon tonight? Can you say good night to the moon? Good night, light and the red balloon. Good night, bears. Good night, chairs. Can you pick some things to say good night to in the room you're in? Good night, kittens, and good night, mittens. Kittens and mittens rhyme. They have the same middle and ending sound. Good night, clocks. Good night, socks. Clocks and socks rhyme. Good night, little house, and good night, mouse. Mouse and house rhyme. Good night, comb, and good night, brush. Good night, nobody. Good night, mush. The mush is like their bedtime snack. And good night to the old lady whispering, hush. Good night, stars. Good night, air. Good night, noises everywhere. Thank you for reading Goodnight Moon with us. I hope you enjoyed this classic bedtime story. You are welcome to watch it whenever your mom or dad or your caregiver says it's appropriate for you to watch it. And caregivers and parents, I hoped you loved this rendition of Goodnight Moon. Again, if you could please click the like button and subscribe. I would love for you to come back daily and see what new book has been posted. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.